This is Chair Guild, just checking to see how many committee members we have present in the assembly room.
We have Supervisor Rosenberg.
Okay. So then it appears we've got a couple more we're still waiting for.
Supervisor Book is excused.
Yes, I did see the message on that one. Thank you. And I see that Supervisor Seefeld was able to join us,
Right.
which is good to see.
Yeah, I made her. We got done haying early enough, so.
Well, it looks like you've got some sunny weather, at least for a while here.
Yeah, but the skies don't look too kindly right now.
Well, that's because they wanted you to come to the meeting, Rick.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It looks like we do have a quorum.
I was just seeing we've been joined by another supervisor, so Vice Chair Lowe may still be joining us, but since we are at quorum and it is 4:01, I am going to call to order this month's meeting of the Marathon County Extension Education and Economic Development Committee. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Did we have anyone registered to make a public comment for today's meeting?
No, Chair, we did not here in the assembly room.
Okay. And I did not receive any requests via phone or email, so we will move forward to item 3, our approval of the May 6th, 2021 Extension Education Economic Development Committee minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Otherwise, I would accept a motion to approve.
Supervisor Seefeld makes motion to approve the minutes.
Rosenberg seconds.
Thank you. We've got a motion by Supervisor Seefeld and a second by Supervisor Beestrom by just a hair. So with the motion in the second, one last call for any corrections or changes to the minutes. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from the May 6th Extension Education Economic Development Committee as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. So we will move on to item 4 under policy issues for discussion and potential committee determination. 4A is with the UW-Madison's Division of Extension. We have an item for authorization for administration to sign the FoodWise contract. And I know a copy of this was provided in the packet, so hopefully everyone had a chance to look at it. But I will ask Jason to provide some additional information here, and Administrator Leonard as well, if and where appropriate. So, gentlemen?
Thank you. This is Administrator Leonard. I'll start, and then Jason can fill in the gaps that I will, without question, leave. So this is something that probably the committee hasn't normally seen in the past, and I'm really just bringing this here for to make sure that the county board is aware that we've signed these contracts every year since FoodWise has operated within a Marathon County space, and this is just one of those agreements that again hasn't always been brought to the committee, and I simply am bringing it there because of a couple of things. But first and foremost, the contractual period here doesn't align with our budget. So I'll make very clear. So if Marathon County took the drastic action, which I have no reason to believe it would, and I don't think Jason does either, but man, we're no longer going to provide services to UW Extension, and we're not going to provide space to Foodwise as part of the annual budget process, the county annual budget process. That timeline doesn't align with the time period for the federal government or the state. And this is governed by, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but the federal timeline, because it's a federal program. So we've signed these contracts. We, being administration, have signed these historically in the past. I simply want some action from this body telling me that, hey, the thing that we don't believe there's any chance of happening, which is what I just said, that Marathon County says, you know what, we no longer want to have this program delivered that is fully funded on the federal side by federal dollars, and all Marathon County has to do is give them a space to do it. I just want you to tell me that, and I'll sign it, and we'll do the same thing we've done for years prior. So that's the high-level overview. The contract was in your packet. Jason, what did I miss?
Nothing, actually, Administrator Leonard. Thanks for filling in very well on what this is. So I think, as Administrator Leonard mentioned, this has been a standard agreement that the county has graciously signed with our Foodwise partners. So the federal dollars that Administrator Leonard is talking about are the dollars that come through the SNAP Ed benefits through the federal budget, then down to the state to administer on a local level, if you will. And then that's through the appropriation of projects, Foodwise projects. So Marathon County is part of the Foodwise fiscal part, which includes Marathon, Lincoln, and Langlade counties. So Tammy Hansen, who's our Foodwise coordinator, oversees that program in Marathon County. There are 2 other staff members in our Marathon County office that serve Marathon County. Their salaries and fringes come from that federal pot of money, and a lot of supplies. So in the agreement where it talks about shared direct and indirect costs, such as overhead, supplies, equipment, and most of that is making copies, keeping the lights on and the phone active and internet up and running. All the supplies and resources that come with the day-to-day operations of they're teaching in schools and they're providing food demos at working with WIC and providing those things, that's already buried in their budget. So to Administrator Leonard's point, it's making sure that they have a space to do their work. And this is what this, it's an annual agreement. And yes, it follows the fiscal parameters in that time frame that's alluded to in the agreement. So Administrator Leonard did a great job of kind of outlining this, and it's up for your discretion.
All right, thank you both. So just to be clear for the committee, as it says on the agenda, if we are okay with this, we would be looking for a motion to authorize administration to sign this contract on the county's behalf. But before we do any motioning, are there any questions from committee members? Hearing none, we could do some motioning otherwise.
Supervisor Beastrom, move to approve.
So
Rosenberg,
can you
second.
clarify for the purposes of the minutes what you are moving to approve? Are you approving?
Moving to authorize administration to sign the agreement.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I know there was a second, but I didn't catch who it was.
Rosenberg, second.
Thank you, Supervisor Rosenberg. So we have a motion and a second to authorize administration to sign the contract. One last call for any questions or comments from committee members. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So thank you both very much for bringing this to our attention, putting this in front of the committee, making sure we've got great transparency on this situation. Obviously, we hope it never is an issue, but it's always good to be safe than sorry later. So with that, we can move forward on the agenda. However, I do know that the next item, item 5, under operational functions, is a UW Stevens Point Wausau issue for CIP. And I received a message from Anne that she was going to be running a little bit late to today's meeting. She expects to be here shortly after 4:15 p.m. So if there are no objections, I'd like to postpone item 5A or skip or take out of order. I'm not sure what the legal phrase is that I need to use here, but and move on to item 6A, reports, until she joins us. Are there any concerns with making that adjustment to the agenda? Okay, then we will temporarily move past 5A on to 6A. The first, under educational presentations and outcome monitoring reports, we have our reports from our committee-affiliated departments and organizations. And the first item is our Marathon County Public Library. And I know that Leah provided us with a written report in the packet, but she is present today. So Leah, if you wouldn't mind, if there's anything in particular that you care to highlight, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Well, you've seen the report. It's an overview of everything that's been going on here. I do have an update since I submitted this report. We were able to get all of the electricity wired, all of the data runs connected, and so when we opened on Tuesday, everything was working beautifully. We had a very nice, smooth reopening. I think patrons are really happy to be here at the library again. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And if you hear knocking behind me, that's because the roofing is still underway. It's going to be a bit longer of a process than originally expected, but they're working every day, all day, making good progress. Oh, and it's been confirmed that the Marathon County Public Library, or the Friends of the Marathon County Public Library, are going to be having their book sale, their first book sale since being closed and reopening on the 19th, and that's for members only.
Great, thank you for the additional information. Are there any questions from the committee regarding the items in this month's library report? All right, I do not hear any, but I'm really glad to hear that we have reopened. I know that even on social media and things, I'd been seeing some buzz about the excitement of people being able to get back in there. Are there any space limitations? Are you having to, count the number of people, anything like that?
Yeah, it's not so much an issue here at Wausau because we have just massive square footage, but we do have limits, and Russ from the health department has been giving us guidance, and he recommended that we start with 25% occupancy. Like I said, here it hasn't really been an issue. I think that leaves 70 people on first and second floor at Wausau, but it is a bit restrictive at our branches, which some are quite tiny. We had a couple of crossovers to our occupancy at Rothschild because they're a busier branch and they're also fairly small. But we have a plan in place. We have a standing sign that says, please visit us another time or wait until somebody exits before coming in. And it's working fine. It's a little cumbersome, but it hasn't come up too often. We had a couple of branches that were right at the limit, but didn't end up going over, so they didn't have to put the black sign out. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing a little bit of additional sanitizing. We're not allowing water fountains, but we do have water in the back should somebody need it. And our meeting rooms are not currently being reserved. Same with in-house programming. We're still doing our virtual programming, and we are allowing, with special approval, some outdoor socially distanced story times and programming here and at the branches.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the meeting room update. That was actually another question I was going to ask. So looks like we're moving in a good direction there. So unless there are any other questions, I'll pause. All right, I think we are good. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So And then with that, we will, let's see here. I don't believe I've seen Anne come on yet. So let's move on to item 6A2, which is our report from McDevko. And I do know we have Vicki waiting patiently in the wings, and she had provided her update as well with some exciting things on there. So Vicki, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have some exciting things going on over here at McDevko. We just graduated last week our leadership class, 18 students, half of which have started their new businesses. The other ones are continuing to work on the process to open them up. So we feel really, really good at 50% opening up with the end of the 4-month class that they went through. We will be having, as we said, our crops and shops that we put in there. We're excited about that. That's what our pop-up shops on steroids now, where we've added our ag community. We will be holding that outside here at the EEC. So if you know somebody that wants to be a vendor as a crop person or a pop-up shop for an entrepreneur or small business, please send them our way. It will be family orientated. We will have a children's activity that a make and take for them. Food available, music, and some other activities, just popping up for the evening. So even if you're not selling, please come out and support our ag and our small businesses throughout Marathon County on the 24th of June, 22nd of July, 26th of August, 23rd of September, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. out here at the EEC Center. And if you don't know what's going on inside the EEC, at 4 and 5, we're giving tours of the building for people here. Working through the last of the paperwork with Marathon County for the $500,000 for grants, $5,000 grants for small businesses located throughout Marathon County. And we've done our planning for education right through the end of the year, besides a few other things we're doing. But yeah, you got my report. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions from committee members regarding the McDevko report or activities? Vicki, I was intrigued by the new quarterly lunch item, the where and how I start my business.
Yes.
Is there a way to find the dates for that? Will that be on the website or things? Because as you may have seen, I've referred a few people to you in the last few months who I think would have been perfect for something like this.
Yes. We actually think we have 15 in our first class. That came about because I could answer that question every single day at McDevko. So putting together this lunch and learn, we can reach a larger group of people at one time and then shift them into our classes or get them additional resources, get them into get financing, whatever we need to do immediately then for them. I believe, I got my calendar here. I believe it's the 24th, Sarah, is when it starts. But I'll get that out to you, okay?
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
And, as members of the Economic Development Committee, I'm sure I'm not alone in having people reach out and, say, hey, what can I do to get help for my small business or launching a small business? So I think that'd be useful for us to be aware of is routing them there instead of to your phone or email.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
And then I also noticed, and actually the UW Stevens Point update, that you are partnering on an initiative for their lunching, the lunch entrepreneur. Is that it? Can you fill in some one?
That is a competition. And probably Anne when she gets there, but we've been collaborating on that. And so McDevko will be part of interviewing people with having our own kitchen out here and what the UW is looking for their kitchen services over there. And so it's been great working with Anne on something new, a new project out there for UW Stevens Point, Wausau, and McDevko.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's exciting, at least from my perspective, from this committee, to see our partners find ways to collaborate on this kind of an initiative that can
Absolutely.
help in a lot of different angles. My understanding is it won't be limited just to the students, but it looks like the public could take advantage of this new dining opportunity as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are kicking it out to currently people that we have in our kitchen here that may be looking to expand, food trucks, catering people that would be good fits for this, that they're looking to go to the next step of their businesses, but yet still can't afford their own place, as McDevko has added 5 new kitchen people in the last 2 months to our kitchen out here. So we're starting to fill it up. So to have this opportunity for somebody even in our kitchen that's ready to take that leap to the next kitchen would be great. But it'll be great to see what the community has and how they present themselves as chefs.
Very much. All right. Well, thank you. One more call. Anyone else have any questions for the McDevko report? All right. Hearing none, thank you as always for taking the time to both write it down and join us today. It is appreciated.
Thank you.
So then we can move into item 6A3, which is our UW-Madison Division of Extension update. And again, we got our great written report, but in addition, there is some information on completing a revised contract between the county and the Board of Regents. So I will pass it over once again to Jason to update us on both of those areas.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Guild. And I would invite Administrator Leonard to speak into this if there are things that I'm missing. So to the second point of the revised contract, so at the last meeting, this body authorized or supported the transition of the administrative specialist position within our county budget to then move to the contract. So it actually would be a university paid administrative support person that has been executed and revised, and that is actually the executed contract is with Administrator Leonard. I'm happy to report that since that has happened and we have posted the position closes tomorrow. And as of last count this morning, there were 35 applicants for that position. So I anticipate there will be over 40, which is great to see that people are interested in joining the Marathon County team. So that's an update that way. Administrator Leonard, is there anything else about that revised contract that you want to make the body aware of?
Well, the only thing, the revision, and it's noted within the document, but you can see we added a paragraph that talks about the contract being signed in the middle of the year, that it's prorated, and that, so just so that, again, the county, that this committee knows, this is essentially a budget neutral or a budget benefiting amendment. And the only other thing I'll say is congratulations on 35 applicants. That's excellent.
Yeah, thank you. I know it makes my job a little harder screening 35 applicants now or 40 plus. So, but we're excited to get somebody on board, and the hope is to have this person interviewed and hired and on staff by July 1. That may be an ambitious time frame with some vacations of staff, including myself. So, so thank you for that support to move that forward. I have, outside of the written report, there's a couple of things that I want to highlight. One thing in particular in the written report before I go through some other updates. If you've seen in Caitlin Bernardi's report about kind of her work, and it references Area Animal Science Days coming up on June 16th. That is actually a, I guess, regional event. And if you're, because this is the Economic Development Committee, I would be remiss to say that this is a potentially a little shot, I'll call it, in the arm for Marathon County. We're bringing in contingencies from, let's just say, the northern half of the state, and we've gotten commitments from people as far away as Polk and Washburn counties, Barron County on the western side, and even, on the eastern side, Oconto County, I think is what they mentioned. And what this is, it's a dairy judging contest. And there used to be 3, now there's only 2, but this will be held at Marathon Park, and really showcasing 4-H members from around the state competing in that arena. So I just think from an economic development standpoint, they'll be entering the county and spending some time here. Some of them will come the night before and stay in some hotels. Some will come the day of. It depends on how far they travel. But I would be remiss to say it's also it's an educational experience that we're providing and helping with, but it's also an economic development driver. So I want to just make you aware, in case you're not getting it, we've started a new monthly email update. And so that started 2 months ago. You should be getting those usually about the middle of the month. The next one will come out again middle of this month, I think by the 16th or 17th. Just a quick highlight of our educators. You as a committee, you get the written reports. You see them every month. You know the work that we're doing. But this was, I guess, the next step of highlighting those reports. So at the top of the email, it says you can link to those reports and see them. And at the same time, it draws attention to some other educational updates for our educators. So this last month in May was highlighting June Dairy Month. So it is June. So get out and enjoy the wonderful dairy breakfast. I know the one that's coming up with Swiderski at Swiderski Equipment. And so it is Dairy Month, so take advantage of that. The other thing, too, for our office, we hired 2 summer interns that will be helping with our Community Connections partnership through the Wausau School District. Those individuals started 2 weeks ago. We're happy to have them on board. They'll be doing in-person programming with our partnership with Community Connections in the Wausau School District. And then lastly, the biggest thing, as Leah mentioned from the public libraries and capacity, we are at a no capacity limit as of yesterday for our programming, meaning we around the state have outdoor events. You can have max outdoors. Indoors, we were once at a 30% capacity, and now that has shifted to more of a physical distancing, and use your discretion to make sure that there's ample spacing in those arenas, whatever that be, whether it's a town hall or a village hall or Marathon Park, for example. And so that was a huge kind of boost for our team to work through that. And as they're planning their programming, is to not have to worry about certain capacity limits and potentially turning people away from our in-person programs, which we're getting back to more often, which is great to see. So, Chair Gill, that's what I have to report.
All right, thank you very much. You guys are busy as always, especially heading into the summer now. Are there any questions from committee members regarding the report and or the contract that is being moved forward following our discussion last month? Well, hearing none, I'm going to take that to mean that you covered everything that we were wondering about. And just thank your team, as always, for taking the time to keep us updated, and also for now adding on that mid-month update for others as well. I think that's important that everybody knows what you're doing.
Thank you.
So, all right. And let's see here. Have we been joined by Ann yet?
If
It
not,
doesn't
Chair Gill,
appear that-
I can walk us through the CIP process, what's before the committee today.
That would be great, and that's what I was hoping. So we will then move back to item 5A, the UW Stevens Point CIP requests. And Administrator Leonard, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Chair Gild. So just to start with a little bit of grounding everyone today, why are these CIP requests before you? And the short answer is because the county board policy says this is where they start. The process we currently have is that departments, whether they're direct county departments or even affiliated departments like the UW Stevens Point Wausau campus, submit capital improvement requests to the appropriate standing committee for consideration. And that consideration is the first step in a long process under your current rules that ultimately lead to funding. So you are not here to decide whether or not the county is going to fund the modernization of elevators. If you say yes today, that doesn't mean we're going to proceed with the project. If you say no today, of course, we won't. But you're the first step in that process. It moves from this committee to the Capital Improvement Committee, where under your current rules, those projects are evaluated and ranked against all of the other projects that come from all of the other departments and standing committees. And why, you might be asking, you probably know the answer, but you may be asking, why are we evaluating capital requests for the UW Stevens Point Wausau campus? And the short answer is Marathon County owns those buildings. So under our longstanding agreement with the Board of Regents in the state of Wisconsin, we are responsible for the ongoing maintenance of and provision of the buildings in which educational services are provided by the state of Wisconsin through that UW system that is in place. So you have two projects before you, and you have all of the documentation for each of those two projects. The first relates to the modernization of elevators within the campus. I can tell you that, of course, when you look at that, there's a large price tag. I've come to learn a number of things in administration, and one of them is that elevators themselves are expensive. We've done some elevator work here in the courthouse over the last several years. Those projects are expensive. At the same time, you can see from the request, they need to be done when they need to be done. And the request before you is to modernize 3 elevators, including the replacement of obsolete electronic controllers, hydraulic pumps, valves, door operators, hoist devices, and car controls. So that is the first project that is before you. And you can see we ask departments and affiliated entities to, if they're going to submit more than one project, they rank them, if at all possible, to say which one is the highest priority. And you can see from the 2 projects that the university has put forward, this project, the elevator project, is of the higher priority of the 2. That said, the second project that is before you today for, again, consideration in that first step relates to the wall coverings within a portion of the building, and I'm sure Ann will come on right after I wrap up. But my understanding is we've done a portion of the wall covering replacement in a previous year budget. So if you've been to the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point at Wausau campus main building, some of the vinyl wall coverings have been replaced, but this replacement relates to the wall covering and the cove base on the 200 floor of the North Hall, as well as a couple of office suites. And there is an estimate you'll see in the packet that relates to the overall cost of the project. This project is substantially less expensive than the elevator project, but it again is, of the 2 projects in terms of priority from the university, it is a lower priority. That said, is still very high overall. So your consideration today is to move this on where it will be evaluated by the Capital Improvement Committee, unless those rules are suspended by the full board, which I understand there is some discussion to suspend that rule and instead have the HR Finance and Property Committee really look at all of the projects that come through. But the next step is really to bring all of the projects together and evaluate what all of our capital needs are across the county and identify funding sources for each of those projects to the best of our ability, and then build those projects into ultimately the 2022 budget. And so, like I said, this is the first step in that long process. So it's going to be before you today as a committee to move forward, but certainly you will have the opportunity. This will come before you again as part of that 2022 budget process. And then again, the last step in that process is providing for funding. If we're going to borrow for capital improvement funding, that again comes before the full board for consideration at a later date.
Thank you, Administrator. And I do see that Ann is now with us. So Ann, just to catch you up, we delayed the CIP item to the end. Unfortunately, we got through stuff quick. So Administrator Leonard, as you came in on, just gave us kind of a general overview of the two requests. But please fill us in on any additional information related to your CIP items. And let us know what else we may need to consider before we decide if we want you to have working elevators or not.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, and now I've shown up twice, it looks like. Sorry about that. Yeah, so these are not
Reflected on the assembly room
whistles.
too. That's all.
What was that?
I said whoever's speaking shows up on the assembly room. That's why.
That's why, okay. Yeah. Yeah, these are not bells and whistles kinds of requests. I wish they were. They're nuts and bolts kind of things. And we need the nuts and bolts. We need functioning elevators. Several of you were on, maybe not several of you, but at least I see 3 of you on the call, 4 of you on the call. Also did the ugly wallpaper tour and could see what was happening to the wallpaper on the walls. That we have since been able to like glue down the seams so that the wall coverings don't look quite as atrocious. But they're dirty. The seams are pretty ugly, and we were able, you'll recall, to replace some of the wall covering a few years back, and the idea would be to replace the other wall covering with that same wall covering before it disappears, because everything seems to disappear before too long and is no longer available. So the idea would be to do that. We did look at the possibility of painting instead. And I think, in a perfect world, that would be our preference because that's easier to maintain. But the wall repair under the wall coverings would have been too extensive. We did one small section just to see what it would look like and how much work that would involve. And it was pretty extensive. So wedded to wall covering, we remain.
All right, thank you. Do any committee members have any questions regarding the request for these CIP items or the process that we're being asked to participate in?
Rosenberg here. How many elevators are in those buildings?
Ann, you're on mute right now.
I was just saying I need to count on my fingers like where they're all located. So 1, 2, 3 in the main building, and 1 in the CCE, and then there's the one in the residence hall as well. But I don't think that one's included in this request.
No, this is Administrator Leonard, and as I read your request, it's just the main building. The CCE building that Ann's referring to is the newer building. So that's the nice elevator.
The new elevator, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions regarding these requests? Otherwise, I would accept a motion to move. I believe we need to do a motion to move the CIP request forward to the next committee.
Rosenberg, I'd make the motion to move it to the HR, Finance, and
Technically, it's supposed to go to CIP, the Capital Improvement Committee, but I like the way that Chair Guild phrased it in the event that the county board suspends the rules to effectively abolish the CIP committee. I think a perfect motion today would be to move these projects forward for consideration, further consideration.
that's my motion.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion from Supervisor Rosenberg. Do we have a second?
Supervisor
second.
Seafelt.
I will give that to Supervisor Seefeld. So, okay, we've got our motion and our second to move both of these projects forward in the process for additional consideration at the next committee. Any final questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 And any opposed? Motion carries. So you are on to the next phase. And so with 5A completed, and we have already done all of the items 6A 1 through 3A, all that is next is 6A4, the UW Stevens Point Wausau report. And I know that you did provide the written report in the packet, which is greatly appreciated. I did actually ask Vicki to give us a little more information already on that exciting new collaboration between your organizations. But please feel free to provide any additional context related to your report now, Ann.
Yeah, well, I keep getting phone calls about the vendor, food vendor. So we're so grateful to have Vicki involved because she knows so much more and has this expertise. And we're really hoping that what we end up with is someone who, maybe no longer needs the kind of space that's out at the education center and is ready to like graduate up to a full commercial kitchen that they would have full use of for a catering business or whatever else, as long as they provide food service to the campus. So it's exciting. I mean, we're really looking forward to this process. Otherwise, I don't know that I have anything to add to my report. I'm just grateful for your support of the CIP requests and just general support of the campus. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Do any committee members have any other questions regarding the UW Stevens Point activities? No. Not hearing any. I think you've covered it all really well. I was really excited to see that we've got another bachelor's degree coming to the campus this fall. So that's really fun to see that everything's growing. And every time I go on Facebook lately, it seems I'm seeing another announcement from the graduates of the Masters of Business. So that's been really neat to see how well that went through. And I'm hoping that trend will continue.
Yeah, both the master's degree programs and the bachelor's degree programs have been really, really popular. Like, they are definitely sustaining themselves.
Great. So the numbers for the fall are looking all right still.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Well, then, hearing no other questions, I think I will thank you for taking the time to get us the reports and the updates, and we'll plan to hear more next month. But next on the agenda is item 7, our next meeting time, location announcements. First 7.1, do any committee members have any requests or ideas for future committee agenda items? Okay, well, as always, let me know if you have anything, and same goes for our committee partners. If there are any topics that you would like me to be aware of for covering at a future meeting, please get in touch. We are currently scheduled to meet on Thursday, July 1st for our next meeting, so right before the 4th of July weekend. Hopefully that'll work for everybody. But if you are not going to be able to meet next month's meeting, please make sure to let me know, especially during the summer. Quorum can get a little bit trickier, so the more notice that committee members can give us that they will or will not be there, the better it is. So, and with that, we are on to item 8, adjournment. I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I'd make a motion to
Unless you
adjourn.
got-
Rosenberg.
All right, I've got a motion from Rosenberg and a second from Supervisor Seefeld to adjourn. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much for taking the time to be here today, and enjoy the wonderful warm weather we have ahead.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah.